Hello and welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and today your co-host will be Jarrod. Welcome back, Jarrod.
Hey, Daniel. How's it going, man?
Not too bad. We've got a good amount of a variety of news this week. We've got gaming, we've got some DC news, but for those of you, if this is your very first episode, the way the format works is first we go through a bulk of news, and then we end it with the Brokehead Block, which is what Jarrod and I have been doing since you last heard us. So let's jump right in and explore sector number 508. So the World Video Game Hall of Fame at the Strong National Museum of Play has officially inducted 4 new titles as part of the annual inclusion of additional video games. So Jarrod, let me know if you think these are worthy of a Video Game Hall of Fame. These include Miss Pac-Man, Dance Dance Revolution, Sid Meier's Civilization, and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
I mean, honestly, I can't really think of anything wrong with any of these options. I mean, Ocarina of Time is one of the best-selling Zelda games. Miss Pac-Man, it was basically Pac-Man with a bow. Dance Dance Revolution was great. It's just a really good class.
DDR, I was initially like, really? Any other title other than DDR? Because I completely had forgotten about it. And I still really sort of see it in this class of, it started this trend of dancing games that did rule, I don't know, maybe a decade of arcades. But since then, you haven't really seen even stuff that may have spun out of games like DDR or other rhythm games like Guitar Hero, Rock Band. You don't really see them anymore. Instead, you sort of see the VR experiences with the wands. Do you think that DDR is responsible for all of those? And if it is it worthy enough to be in a Hall of Fame?
It's a good question because, I mean, honestly, you've got, you had Guitar Hero, they had the DJ one. I mean, there was a lot of options in there, but I think DDR really kind of started that whole thing. I mean, I spent a ton of time on it when I was a kid. So I think it belongs there, at least the first one. Yeah, it's one of those it's a game. Like, it was a whole situation where you had the dance pad and all that, and it just kind of went.
I do have fond memories of DDR. At the AMC I used to work at, they had one of the sequels set up in the lobby, and usually people would forget, or I don't know how it would happen, but credits would end up on the machine by the end of the night. I think it was sometimes, it said $1, but it was really only 50 cents to play, so people would put in way more money than they needed to. So at the end of the night, we would all play DDR after work. And eventually I got better and better at it, where I could actually go to an arcade and do okay on standard mode, which isn't amazing. I used to see some of these guys that would make it more difficult for them by flipping over the fucking bars and walking away from the thing and coming back and jumping on the pad and shit like that. But
yeah, no, those guys were a little too much. But yeah, no, I mean, I played a ton of it when I was in an arcade. It's just one of those games, man. It's just, you see it, and they even had, what was that knockoff version of it?
There was Pump It Up as well. That was 5 arrows there that included the middle one, and it was all diagonal.
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of. I mean, you had that. It got a little bit of praise. I mean, you've even got, games like Just Dance are still coming out.
That's true. Yeah, Just Dance is a good one that probably would have inspired. And maybe there's a little something, some game somewhere that did the DDR thing before that did, but Konami really cemented themselves as putting this genre in the forefront, and it hasn't really, as you mentioned, left, because Just Dance itself, I think it's still considered a successful franchise. I would not be shocked if there was a Just Dance game right now on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, no, it's one of those games where it's fun to play. Yeah, it looks like there's a 2020, a 2022 version. So yeah, no, there is one out right now.
Wow. There you go. Other finalists that didn't make the cut this year do include Assassin's Creed, Candy Crush Saga, Minesweeper, NBA Jam, Parappa the Rapper, Resident Evil, Rogue, and Words with Friends. I think the only one there that maybe I'd swap out for Resident Evil, I think, is probably the most important of that list of games.
Maybe I could also see myself swapping maybe Assassin's Creed for Miss Pac-Man, because if Pac-Man's in there, I'd have to take a look at like what's already there. But if Miss Pac-Man's there, then I don't know that you need both.
That's very true. And you got to kind of decide if you're in charge of this Hall of Fame, do you go with the game that started it all, like Pac-Man, or the more successful one, which is Miss Pac-Man? That one was fucking massive. It definitely outdid the first Pac-Man. That's the one I remember. My dad used to work at a bar, and when we'd go and visit him, that the Pac-Man Galaga, Miss Pac-Man Galaga was the combo that I got to play. That was, I think, my first video game. If it wasn't that, it was Super Mario Brothers on the NES. But I do have memories of the joystick and all of that. But it was definitely Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah, no, it was one of those that was, it was really up there. But also, I feel like you said, if Pac-Man's there, then I don't know that it needs to be.
Right, and the list is already on there, Pac-Man included. Since first being established in 2015, the inaugural class included Doom, Tetris, Super Mario Bros., World of Warcraft, Pac-Man, and Pong. Last year, Animal Crossing, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Great Edition, StarCraft, and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego were all inducted into this Hall of Fame. So, what 2 video games would you want to see added onto this Hall of Fame that hasn't already been listed?
Honestly, I would probably go with Assassin's Creed. Trying to think of another one that I'm trying, like that really kind of, I could see NBA Jam making it in. That's the other question I have about this system, though, is with the voting, if something's made it like to a certain point, does it not get re-added? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, it can't just keep getting nominated every year.
Yeah, it's one of those, because it's only been around since 2015 too. Like, those things are like they're likely to change too because it's so new.
My choices would be Microsoft's Halo. Like, I know a lot of people would go with GoldenEye, but I would absolutely throw in the first Halo. And then a selfish choice would be Resident Evil 4 instead of Resident Evil 1, although I know Resident Evil 1 was huge and instrumental for the horror genre, but Resident Evil 4 did some awesome stuff with the over-the-shoulder. You got Dead Space out of it. A lot of games took that mechanic and ran with it.
That's very true. Yeah, Resident Evil 4 was, I played the heck out of that on, was that, I think I played it on 360?
Did you ever play it where you unlocked the Chicago typewriter, unlimited ammo?
No.
Oh my God.
I didn't get too much into those. But yeah, no, I mean, I played them every once in a while. But yeah, no, they were great games.
That shit broke the game, man. Run up to every boss and unlimited ammo it with the Chicago typewriter. And even that one enemy that you needed the scope to find out where its little things were, the parasites, and then you needed to shoot them, those scary things with the spikes. You could just Chicago typewriter it because every game model had some kind of health meter where eventually the game's like, all right, fine, it's dead. So
all right, we give up.
Well. Yeah. We also have some Street Fighter news, as Street Fighter V composer Daniel Lindholm confirmed in a recent YouTube Q&A that Fei Long will not appear in the games for the foreseeable future. He said, quote, "I do have other sources, not only Capcom, but friends of mine in the US who are very close friends with the Bruce Lee family, and they basically said any kind of resemblance to Mr. Bruce Lee is now omitted for comedic effect or comic stuff. It needs to be honorable. So that's why we won't see Fei Long again, ever," end quote. And they did reach out to Capcom, who of course said they do not comment on rumors or speculation. I don't know. I think there's an argument to be made where Capcom could go, look, it might be inspired by Bruce Lee, but it's not fucking Bruce Lee. It's Fei Long. We can use him.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that argument, but God, that's a tough one with the family and all that. Like, it's one of those where, do you want to, piss off them? And
what are they going to do,
Jared? Well, it's one of those things where, like, I'm okay with them omitting it for the time being, but it's just a really weird thing to see him not there for that long.
Isn't Liu Kang also sort of based a little bit on Bruce Lee from Mortal Kombat?
And there's so many characters that are based on Bruce Lee that I don't know that. Yeah, I don't really know how much you can actually, keep him from being in the show. You know what I mean? Or in the game or anything that you want to use him for.
King of Fighters, I know, has their Bruce Lee version or whatever you want to call it, iteration. So they haven't removed that. It seems like it's a personal choice from Capcom, although the Lee family did get pissed off. I don't know if you remember a couple years back with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
They got really upset about the way they portrayed Bruce, and the studio really didn't do anything about it. It's not like they released an edited cut or anything or cut out the scenes where Brad Pitt fights him. And that's one of those things, again, where I'm like, I honestly don't know if they could do anything about it. Maybe they could take someone to court, but it seems more like it's their wish that Bruce Lee be remembered in a positive light.
I mean, you could do it that way, but I mean, honestly, I feel like at this point, you might as well just, let Bruce Lee's image kind of be what it is. Like, it's been so long and it's been, so many years since he passed away that I don't know. It's just weird.
We've got to get close to public domain on him, right?
It's got to be close, isn't it?
Soon enough, it will be, yeah. We also did get a patent that got discovered by Game Rant, and it seems to show that Microsoft is working on a method in which a gamer could insert a disk into an external disk drive, which would then authenticate it and allow the game to be played on an Xbox Series S or S. And while the game companies have often filed patents that never end up getting used, we've seen it time and time again, supposedly it fits Microsoft the marketing strategy right now of accessibility. And this has been a sort of a complaint, at least it was when the system first got announced and was first launched, about digital only and how there was no backwards compatibility, or at least very little if you don't count the digital stuff. So this seems to be a workaround or a solution that could be coming our way. I don't know if you sort of sit on the same camp with me, but I'm kind of like, the system has been out long enough. It's successful. It's almost like this is just a move to maybe get into the better graces of gamers, but I don't think it's needed.
I don't really think it's needed. I mean, honestly, as far as Xbox goes, I'm a giant Game Pass person. Ever since that came out, I got it, and I've just been kind of using that for the most part. But I mean, this can't hurt, really. I'm trying to remember how much like the external drive is going to be, though. You know what I mean? And I think that depends. Like, are they going to release their own, or is it going to be, like a pick whichever one you want, and if it works, it works?
According to the paperwork that I saw, you can use third-party disk drives, and I'm sure they'd have their own first-party one too.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I don't really have a problem with it, but I think it's just kind of an odd thing to do, considering the price point was packaged at that, that little model where you basically were buying a Game Pass machine.
And that's what I'm thinking too, is a majority of Xbox Series X or S or Xbox One owners already own Game Pass, and they've been running with that, gamers like you. So that, I felt like, was always the marketing strategy of, look, we have Game Pass. It's an extremely good value. It's the best value you can find in gaming right now for a fantastic machine. So that's kind of their thing now. So I don't really see how this would bring in any more gamers. I think this would actually further distance some gamers from Game Pass. And I think they should be focusing on Game Pass as close to 100% subscription as you can get.
Yeah, I mean, it really should be their main, like their main method of getting money every month. I mean, it's such a good deal, and yeah, I mean, this doesn't hurt though. Like I said, it's not bad. It's just kind of a weird story.
It reminds me of the GameCube when they did the GBA adapter and you put it underneath.
Yes.
And they kept it, or the not Game Gear. There was the Sega, right after the Genesis, there was the 32X, and it had all these fucking attachments to it.
Yeah. And you could basically, I've seen people like put all of the attachments together and build like a 4-foot tall tower. Yeah.
I love that. They need to do that if they're going to go with this, it's like, let's go all out, put a giant fucking attachment to the system, make it even bigger.
I mean, that's an option. I mean, I would certainly probably get them. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be like, all right, let's play Game Gear again.
I'd be shilling it right there. I'd be right there with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's Microsoft. I can't really, get against anything that they're doing right now. I think it's too good of a series.
Absolutely. And it does sound like, according to a new report by an insider that goes by the name Zippo, Sega's own Team Sonic studio is said to be working on a 2D entry in the Sonic franchise. If this is true, this would be the first time in decades that Team Sonic has worked on a Sonic game in this style. The most recent 2D style Sonic game was Sonic Mania, which was developed externally by a different studio, which that studio was ready to make a Sonic Mania 2, but from what I remember, Sega ended up not wanting to make it for whatever reason. Although Zippo's track record isn't perfect, in recent history, this scooper has had a number of reports related to Sonic Origins that later proved to be pretty spot on. I think a 2D entry into Sonic, and I think I talked to Treasure Hunting Sonic or Maceo in the past about it, but it feels like if you're the owner of this franchise that is Sonic, you should always have a 2D and a 3D type of game going on at the same time, because at this point, Sonic fans span several generations.
They do. It's kind of one of those Mario situations, if you ask me, where you've got, your people that enjoy the 2D Sonic, which honestly, I'm one of them. And then you've got like the 3D Sonic from the game
Dreamcast.
Yeah, Dreamcast gaze. Thank you. But yeah, no, I enjoyed Sonic Mania a lot. I'm honestly kind of surprised that they didn't go with the second one, because it had so many people that, that played the original Sonics on it. But I mean, this could be really cool. I hope it comes out good. I mean, Team Sonic hasn't really been doing too much lately.
Supposedly, the same insider said that it's going to be something like the Game Boy Advance series of Sonic games, which Sonic Advance 2 and 3, I think it was. And those were pretty fun. Did you end up beating Sonic Mania?
I am like 1 or 2 levels away from it, honestly.
You got way further than I did. That game was it fucking hard? Like harder than the originals, or is it just me?
It was.
Okay.
It definitely was. I don't know exactly what they did to make it that way, but it was definitely harder than the first, the original ones.
And I don't know if it has unlimited lives from what I remember. Like, I have the game downloaded still, but I gave up after like level 2 or 3. There was a boss fight that I just couldn't get past. And whenever Leo turns on the PS4, he sees Sonic and he's like, "Oh, let's play that," because he just saw the movies, really into Sonic and dinosaurs now. And I'm like, "Dude, you're not gonna like that. It's not a 2-player game, Leo." He's like, "Oh, okay." But I'm like, "That game will crush you, kid."
Yeah, it's really no joke. I feel like it was less of a Sonic entry and more like almost like a Hall of Fame entry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, almost like a best of type of thing. Or
yeah, it was
like
it was a really strange game.
Like a fan made type of thing. Yeah, I gotta go back and try it again, but I feel like I'm not gonna do any better.
I mean, look, you might, honestly, and there's enough YouTube stuff out now that you could probably get past it, but it's a fantastic game.
A little bit of a down note this week, as the iconic Teen Titans and Crisis on Infinite Earths artist George Perez has died at the age of 67. According to a message on his Facebook page, he passed away on Friday, May 6th, quote, peacefully at home with his wife Carol of 490 months and family by his side. He was not in pain and knew he was very, very loved. Today is Free Comic Book Day, a day George absolutely loved and a fitting day to remember his contributions to comics and to our lives. I hope you'll enjoy your day today with him in mind. He would have loved that, end quote. So DC Comics will celebrate for the entire month of June what would have been his birthday with a special 2-page spread honoring George, illustrated by an all-star roster of artists including Alex Ross, Jim Lee, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Todd McFarlane, Colleen Doran, Dave Gibbons, Dan Jurgens, and many more. This tribute image will be featured as a variant cover for Dark Crisis number 7, which is the finale of the series that begins in June. And George did get to see this honorary image before he passed, and apparently he was really happy about it, especially with the artists that were involved, because he knew a lot of them. So he was very appreciative of the people that came forward and contributed to this image. Really great cover. I did get to check it out. It's in that style of commissions where you get pieces done by different artists, but it's done professionally because it's fucking DC Comics.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly. I was really sad to hear that he had passed away, honestly.
It was a day we saw coming because he was getting so sick and terminal, and he was like, I just want to enjoy my last 6 months and not be in chemo. and he kind of accepted it, but it did come a lot quicker than I expected even.
It was just really sad. It was just really, really sad to see him go.
He's had a number of amazing creations throughout the past. We just had Neil Adams pass away, and now George. But George had characters like also iconic, just like Neil's Nightwing he co-created. We had a bunch of the Titans that we do enjoy today, like Cyborg, he co-created as well. And he did a ton with not just DC, but Marvel. He was involved in Infinity Gauntlet. So
Yeah.
it's kind of insane how modern comics were very much defined by Marv Wolfman and George Perez, and they usually worked together. So it's just kind of great to see that the comic industry at large is honoring this guy who was a nice guy. You never heard shitty stories about George. Every time you heard convention stories about George. Here in Florida, locally, we're both from the Central Florida area where he did travel and he lived here in Florida. You would hear about local comic shops that he frequented. He frequented my coworker's high school. They did like it was either a play or an orchestra, and he contributed with some artwork for the front of the book. So he was just involved in his community as well. And it's just one of those things where thankfully he was a nice guy because he was an immense artist and an immense talent. You often hear of these same people that are awesome at their craft, and then they end up being assholes or tainted by the fame.
Yeah.
But George was not one of those guys.
No, he definitely wasn't. He was a super good dude, and just, man, it's just really sad to see him go.
In case you do want to get together with other fans and celebrate George, there's going to be a memorial service held at MegaCon Orlando at 6 p.m. on Sunday, May 22nd, and it will be open for all. So if you are in the Central Florida area, Perez was often at MegaCon. This was one of his go-to conventions every year. He didn't have to travel far, and he saw all of his friends. So
yeah, exactly.
Jimmy Palmiotti is also local. A bunch of these guys will definitely show up to MegaCon. But again, that will be on Sunday, May 22nd at 6 p.m. at MegaCon. Some more comic news as CGC has announced its first ever CGC Comics Academy taking place over the 9th and 10th of July this year. So this is going to be a 2-day seminar. It's an opportunity to learn comic book grading from CGC experts, and you might even get a job there. So if you're looking to get into comic grading and you're looking for another gig, CGC is basically, this is a job fair, to be honest with you, Jarrod, because they are currently offering $1,500 as a sign-on bonus for new employees who start by June 30th. And I think with the influx of submissions from cards and comics and all kinds of other items, they need extra bodies there. They need extra graders. So this is a way for them to hopefully make a dent in some of those orders, because right now the line is insane. It's months behind on grading.
Yeah, no, I'd seen that. It's pretty wild.
Right now, there's a limited number of spaces available for this fest or job fair. Let's just call it what it is. The deadline to apply is the 27th of May at 2 p.m., and it is held here in Tampa, Florida at the Embassy Suites Tampa Downtown Convention Center. So they won't accommodate for your flight or hotel, but if you want to fly down to Florida and join in for the academy and you want to try to get a gig there, that is the time to do it. It's something I even considered at one point during the shutdown and during the closures, because they were looking for people during the shutdowns like crazy. And Bobby and I had talked about it where we're like, there's no way some of these gradings aren't being super inconsistent now. Like, it's not the same 3 guys like it was before. And now it's a whole team of graders. And my 9.0 is going to be different than that person's 7.0. As much as training as we might both get, it's all relative at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, although, if you or Bobby did it and we started sending you our books.
Yeah, of course.
Oh no, it's missing a cover, but it's a 9.
Be fair. Okay, fine. It's an 8.9.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be a lot of fun. And that's one of the things where, let me hear what you think about it, because Tree Frog Grading, who recently partnered up with the podcast, they actually they don't use it solely to grade, but they use a computer system where they scan their Pokemon card or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic card, and they will get the exact centering, some of the surface level damage or condition that might be on there. And from there, they get an estimate grade on that card itself. So when whatever they see with the naked eye, the computer will definitely really go down and see how uncentered a card is. Do you think that grading should still be done? It's almost like the umpire question in baseball. Do you think grading should be in the future done strictly by computers where you scan in the comic or the card and it'll spit out a number? Or do you think it should always be a person that takes the thing and looks over it and gives it their grade?
That's a really great question. I would say, honestly, just for the keep of it is to have it graded by a person. Yeah. And I mean, that might just be me, but I mean, you get that personal feeling. You get all of the little side things and all that. It's a little more inconsistent, but I feel like that's something that should be graded by a person.
You and I kind of fall on the same line too, because I'm assuming in baseball you're in favor for umpires still, even though they get calls wrong all the time. But
oh yeah, no, I don't care.
That's like an element of the fucking game, right?
It is. It's part of it, and you got to know who the umpires are, and if he's a little more on the strike side, more on the ball side, you got to know these things. It adds that little bit of extra into it.
I love that part in MLB The Show, which is now available on Microsoft systems, where the umpire would call, even though I hit the fucking square, it's right in there, it's a clear strike, and you'd have that umpire error toggle that you can mess with if you want. Yeah. But I'd be like, this motherfucker, so I'd get angry in game too, like, oh, this fucking... One time, right after that happened, it was years ago on the PS3, I think, or in one of those games, then the batter fouled it, and it did bounce off the helmet of the umpire. Mm-hmm. And now, right after he made one of those calls, and in my mind, that was my amazing pitcher going, fuck you. Somehow he timed it out to where he was able to get the foul to hit the fucking umpire.
There you go. I mean, and you get those old stories because that it's a human doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we might be dinosaurs. Who knows? Like in the future, they might be like, no, we need computers. Like, why would we not want it 100% accurate?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not. They don't do it anymore like that. And we're just still going to CGC.
So this came out, the body camera footage from the Flash star Ezra Miller's recent arrest at a karaoke bar in Hawaii. This was back in March, but the footage actually surfaced online. A nearly 3-minute clip of the footage first surfaced on TMZ on Wednesday, showing Ezra being apprehended by authorities on March 29th on charges of disorderly conduct and harassment. In the video, Miller claims that they videotaped themselves getting assaulted to turn into NFT art. And the video also shows Miller repeatedly asking for the name and badge number of the officer arresting them and alleging that they were attacked by another patron at the bar who, quote, declared himself as a Nazi, end quote. I got to see this video. I put it up on Discord in case anyone else missed it. Yeah. He did not look like he was all there mentally. Like he was, no. I think he was drunk, which doesn't excuse anything, but it kind of shows how he's already kind of a wild person as far as some of the shit that he does. And you throw alcohol or drugs in there and it's just going to get unlatched completely.
I claim my Fourth Amendment rights to not be unlawful. Hey, you just touched my penis. Please don't do that.
I did it.
I'm not non-binary. I don't want to be searched by a man. I'm transgender, non-binary, and I don't want.
Yeah, no, Ezra needs help. It's really sad to see, but he does need help. God, it was one of those videos too where it's just, I don't know if it was because it was him or not, but I just feel like it just kind of goes with all the other things that I've been seeing lately, and it's just rough.
I like the bit where the officer search, like he's like, I don't give my consent to search, and obviously they're ignoring it because they can do it, and he's under arrest.
Yeah,
and he's like, you touched my penis. He's like, no, I didn't. Like the cop's just annoyed by him at this point.
It was like an episode of Cops, but with a celebrity, and I'm just like, what is happening? Why is it?
It's like those YouTube guys. He was doing the same thing that they do. Like, I'm filming this for my protection and yours. And it's like, shut up.
Yeah. Look, I've got a body cam on. Just knock it off. Please stop.
You have to give me your badge number and name. It's like, I don't think they do actually, right? It just can't be covered on their uniform or something.
Yeah, I think they don't have to give it to them, but I think they do have to have it available. I'm not really quite, I think it varies by jurisdiction too, I know.
So with this video coming out, the latest test screenings saying that mixed things. I'm hearing on Twitter that it is terrible. This is the second test screening they've had after they've made some changes. The first test screenings were negative. This time I'm hearing negative, and also it's right up there with the Batman. So we're all like, okay, so it's terrible. I mean, at this point, Millennial Mike and I were talking a little bit about it on Discord, but one, you can't refilm the whole thing without Ezra and reshoot it with someone else. It's going to be way too fucking expensive. The movie's already done.
Yeah.
Do you just let it flop, release it, and just let it be? And I know Toby doesn't want that because that's his job if he still has it next year. But I mean, at this point, there's so much bad press behind this thing.
Man, I don't think he has that job next year.
I don't think so.
I mean, if it was me, I would just, collect the check and let the movie go and just call it what it is.
That's what's so embarrassing about them is this was the movie supposedly. It's erasing the Snyderverse in their continuity. It's erasing Man of Steel. It's doing all these things that would shut the fan base up in their eyes. Like, look, your universe doesn't exist anymore. The Flash went back and erased it, and now there's a Supergirl. This is your new Justice League. It's Michael Keaton, Supergirl, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash. And who the fuck else was in there? Like Shazam, maybe, if he shows up.
Yeah.
And then there's the DC fans that praise everything DC, and they're pretending like that's a great lineup. They're like, well, we don't need Superman and Batman. They're only like 1% of the universe. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? A Justice League without Superman and Batman? What are you fucking talking about?
Good luck getting that off the ground.
It's so ridiculous. And it's just insane how they'll just be like, no, this is totally fine. Batgirl was the other one.
Have you seen some of the stuff on Twitter that they're talking about? It's ridiculous, man. Like, you had a Justice League. Just do that Justice League. It's not that difficult.
Apparently it is.
I mean, well, it is when you go and piss everybody off, sure, but
hardest thing in the world to do, just to make a fucking Justice League movie. You have the guy already. Oh man, but supposedly there's going to be a Discovery Summit on the 19th. So in a few days here, where they are going to unveil their direction. David Zaslav is going to talk about the IPs and the directions that they're going in.
Mm-hmm.
Clay Staub, a few days ago, he put up this cryptic message about the perfect egg, boiling the perfect egg, and how it takes, I think he said 10 minutes. He circled the number 10 on this little graph, and people were like, oh, 10 days. What happens in 10 days? It's the summit. So there's like all these clues of that's when they're going to announce the Snyderverse. But I don't know. I guess we'll find out. It just seems like there's way too many hints from these people that are involved in the industry. It's like, come on, just tell us.
Yeah, honestly, like, I don't even know if they can, though, because, like, I think it all depends on Zack Snyder's contract with Netflix.
He's filming Rebel Moon now, back to back, and he'll be finished with that. The thing is, when we get Justice League 2, they're not going to start that filming, and it'll be back to back also, but till what, maybe next year, late next year?
Oh, easily, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that could work. It's just, I don't know, everything's gotten so convoluted over there. It's I almost wish they would just stop, but then I don't at the same time, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing too, is Netflix is in some hot water now because of all the financial situation that they're in, where a lot of us are like, will Zach still have those projects over there?
Yeah.
Is that already on their contract, or can they just cancel it to save money? How much were they dumping onto Zach's lap as far as money to make these movies?
That's another great question. I mean, it's one of those things where it's kind of like Burger King trying to compete. Honestly, it's like, it's not good. Like, nothing over there that's happening right now is fantastic, and I just don't understand where they're going with it.
Well, let's talk about Netflix here, because according to a report, the New York Times had broken this story. They might be adding an ad-supported tier before the year is over. So with the company losing so many subscribers due to a number of factors, which we have covered on the show already, it would seem leadership is trying to course correct as quickly as it can. They're pulling a Warner Brothers and trying to, the investors aren't happy, man. They're suing them as well over reports, and they weren't able to pull out in time. And now their stocks went down like crazy. Lost millions of dollars, I'm sure, some of these guys. So this ad-supported tier, I heard on Lazy Gaming Guys' stream that the ad-supported tier is just the current tier. It'll be the same pricing, but now we're getting ads. And then I'm hearing other reports that it'll be cheaper than what we are paying now for the standard version, the standard tier. So you can save some money, but then you will get ads. It's not clear yet how they're going to implement this, but I don't think that an ad service or an ad tier is going to bring in more subscribers. The existing subscribers, I don't know of anyone that's going to go, okay, well, let me just downgrade to the ad version and keep Netflix. They're either going to keep it at the tier they have or they're just going to cancel.
Yeah, I think this is like a play more for like, you don't want to keep it, but you have to because you have kids.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's a weird thing, but I mean, honestly, more and more services are having some sort of ad there. And I think it also depends a lot on the ad placement when you get into that situation.
Yeah, Hulu does every now and again when I used to have it. I don't know if they still do it, where you can watch like a 3-minute ad and not have any ads for the rest of the episode, or they'll put in the minute ad throughout. So there's some of the services have gotten creative with the way they do it. I haven't explored HBO Max's because I just do the top tier on them.
Yeah.
And Disney Plus, do they have an ad version too?
I honestly don't know. I haven't even watched it in forever. I'd have to ask my son, honestly.
And if it would depend on what you signed up for too, because if you're not seeing them now, then it's probably a cheaper ad service or a cheaper ad tier. But I know Bobby has been saying that, you know, Netflix is probably not going to make it out of this, that they'll probably still be around, but that they're no longer going to be the number one in streaming.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Okay, so you think who do you think is going to overtake them at this point? Because now there's so many players in the game. And before this time last year, I was like, okay, there's so many streaming services. Eventually, some of these are going to drop out. I honestly thought that services like Peacock or Paramount Plus were going to be the first to go, and we'd have like maybe 3 big ones like HBO Max, Disney Plus, and Netflix. But now they're all here to stay. You have Hulu, you've got Paramount Plus, which is doing great with the Halo show. They were touting that and how many subscribers that netted them. Who do you really see rising to the top in this case?
I mean, honestly, I can see, all right, HBO Max is going to be there. Disney and Netflix, honestly, I could give either one of those, the little, shove them off. Honestly, I don't know who the third one would be, but like it's going to be, I feel like there's going to be more like 2. And then you're going to have your peripheral ones. Maybe Hulu is the third one. I know they're pretty popular. I think it's going to come down to, are people using it to get rid of cable? Or are people using them, like, for instance, for sports? I don't know how many people are using HBO Max, though, for, they've got that one deal where you get like Disney Plus and you get ESPN and Hulu for like an altogether price. But I don't know how many people are doing that, honestly. Like, how many people are using all 3?
Yeah, if they're getting that bundle, then they're doing it for the sports, if I had to guess. And you can get away with charging a premium on that because football watchers, or it's mainly football, NFL watchers they'll be happy to pay the premium, and because it's going to cost them less than cable already.
Yeah.
To be able to catch up with their teams. And I totally understand that. I do think that the shakeup over the next year is, again, super unpredictable as to what's going to happen in Netflix. They're calling it the new blockbuster. That's like the ongoing joke. I don't see it that bad for them. I don't think that they're going to truly go under like Blockbuster did, to be honest with you. I think they'll still be a big player in the game, but I could imagine that, especially with the recent cuts they've done to the animation department, that they'll probably just have a lesser output of original content for the time being until they can sort of match that influx of subscribers that they had during the pandemic. Because that's what they're also pointing to, was during the shutdowns, they had an influx of subscribers. People needed stuff to watch. Tiger King was huge. And then as people got back to work, obviously that number was going to go down over time. The Russian shutdowns and bans, that made that number go down. So I see it more as like a sort of course correction in a way, or a balance of, okay, this is where they should have been had we not had all those crazy spikes up and down. And I mean, it's going to settle.
That's all accurate information. I don't know. It's like they're the one streaming service that really they weren't, what do you call it? Like a producer before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's hurting them because honestly too, if you look at a lot of the shows that they're coming out with, like they're just okay. I would qualify them as like CW level.
Yeah, they're hit or miss. That's something that Millennial Mike and I were talking about too. They're either really well produced like Arcane, or they're fucking terrible.
Yeah, but like the Arcane ones, it's like there's one Arcane and then there's like, 5 ones that are okay.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the mix used to be a lot more, okay, this is a hit. Okay, this is a hit. All right, this is a hit. And now it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I think a lot of the streaming services and stuff like that are going to try to find their way. And I think it's going to be whoever gets off of the woke politics, basically, seems to be the one that's going to just jump out.
Speaking of which, I know it's not on the news or on the notes here, but Feige was talking about how, I think this is bullshit personally, but how he doesn't think they need China's theatrical releases moving forward, that the MCU movies that they want to release that's a market that they don't need, which shocked me that he even put that out there, because that's a massive market for him. That's millions of dollars. And part of me thinks that Disney will be like, no, release out an edited version of Doctor Strange or whatever to make sure that it comes out in China. It's just kind of crazy that someone would say something that anti-Chinese when, these corporates like love the fucking country.
Well, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of China, but like, the things that they're doing to it, like, I'm not necessarily against. Like, was it with the star guy?
Is that a superhero?
Buzz Lightyear. No.
Oh,
Buzz
okay,
Lightyear.
okay.
Buzz Lightyear is the name of it. With that movie, they took out the gay kiss, and I'm like, I mean, I'm not against that necessarily. But yeah, no, it's funny though, because they're talking about how, we don't need China and all that, but they still ship every movie over there.
Exactly.
It's one of those weird situations where, I mean, honestly, I'd like to see what does it look like if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the only way we're going to really find out.
Whenever their film does not get released in China, like maybe see a giant hit that doesn't make it over there, and then kind of make your decision from there. Like, all right, well, can we focus more marketing on these other regions as opposed to China, where, yes, it's a huge market, but is it worth losing?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's one of those weird spots where they're just going to have to figure it out.
I just thought that was a funny quote from Kevin. It's like,
it's hilarious. I mean, if he goes for it, it's, man, that's a heck of a play, but I don't see them doing it. Honestly, I really don't.
No, me neither. But that does wrap it up for our block of news this week. Now we head on over to the Broket block, which is what Jarrod and I have been doing since you last heard us. So Jarrod, what's been on your end? Whether it's something you've been playing, watching, reading, what's been going on in your life?
Oh man, so much work. It's just so much work. I don't know, playing wise, I've been playing Humankind a lot, which I think is actually a pretty good game. Kind of like Civilization, but it's got some neat little tricks to it. I think it's from Sega, honestly. Yeah, cool. Sega Europe. It's kind of like you've got your civilization, but instead of picking like, I'm the Americans or I'm, the Aztecs or whatever, as you level up, you get to mix them together, which is kind of neat. And I've really been enjoying it. It's a lot of fun.
So you get traits from the strengths and weaknesses from both, I'm assuming, right?
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, it is really neat. I mean, work's work. I don't know what more to say about that. But yeah, no, it's just been one of those weeks, man.
Are you pulling in over 40?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Way over 40.
It sounds like it. I don't know if you heard the episode with Bobby, but he's also putting in a shit ton of work too. And I can hear it when you guys record. I'm like, yeah, they're either exhausted or they're working a lot or both.
Yeah, well, one because of the other and all that. But yeah, no, it's fun. I like the guys that I work with, but man, like recently I had to work Mother's Day. And I mean, that was rough.
Was it really busy or what was the deal?
There was just nobody there.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great.
We had no, it was not. I think we had 10 call outs in my department alone. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Mother's Day, Father's Day, there's a shit ton of those where it's like, you can't call out, but then they do anyway.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't know. I might have to change my position to something that's a little less people oriented, or by Father's Day, I might be calling out myself. Who knows?
There you go. I've been enjoying some of the people I work with as well. I mean, obviously, in case you're not in the Discord, I work with Bobby now, and I put up that update. He's always behind that desk and the monitor, and he's trading in cards or taking in cards. And that's basically his position, aside from managing the store, of course, but it's all self-sustaining in a way where the employees all know what to do, except for me, because I'm the new guy. And I've quickly kind of picked up like, all right, I do the orders. It's basically an order fulfillment position, even though it's retail and it's storefront and it's customer based. The customers go to the computer, they type in all the cards they want or product. It's mainly cards though, singles. They put it into their cart. They come up to the desk and they're like, hey, order number 8324. And then I'm like, one of us goes, okay. They go to the back to the warehouse and with the receipt, the slip, and they pull all those cards for them. And then you ring them up, of course, for their order.
Oh yeah,
but that takes a second. And sometimes they pay online and they just come up with their order number already, and it's like, okay, here you go, and it's already done. Sometimes it's not done, and you have to go fulfill it, but it's paid for. But the whole thing is, it's very like the customers are trained to, they just shop on the computer in store or on their phone, pick out all the shit they want, and they just go to the computer and we grab it from the back. And that's basically it, rinse and repeat. I haven't been there for massive tournament days yet, and I don't know if that's something that, based on Yu-Gi-Oh, that Bobby would handle, because Yu-Gi-Oh, there was like a little mini tournament thing, and all the entries and all of that was handled by that desk that I had put pictures of on Discord.
Right.
But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's a group of guys. I think I'm the oldest out of the. There's one guy who's about to leave. He might be a little bit older than me. If not, he's my age. But I've gotten to that age now where every time I've gone now to a new job, I'm like, I'm the oldest guy here. Like, I'm getting old, like truly.
Yeah, no, I know the feeling on that one. That sounds cool though. That sounds like really kind of a chill vibe.
So far it is. During the week it is. And that's when me and some of the other guys can, like, they learned that I used to manage a comic shop. So they've been asking me a ton about that. So we'll just talk about comics and superheroes. And that works out well. So compared to the last position that I just left, where I was by myself a large amount of the time, here at least I have other people that I can talk to or work with, help out with, and all of that. So it is a massive company. There are a lot of employees because there's a whole warehouse in the back where that's its own operation. It's its own fucking thing.
Oh, wow.
So that'll, and in the back, I couldn't even guess how many employees are running around back there, but it is a massive. And then in the front, there's 4 or 5 of us sometimes working. And it's just because the order fulfillment takes so long, especially if it's a big list. I mean, you could be back there for 20 minutes, half an hour. If it's 100 cards, I mean, you could be back there. But it is kind of nice, though, because on the busy days where there are a lot of orders, like, yeah, it's a little hectic, but most of it is in the back pulling cards. And then you go to the front, like, read them their order, and that's it. So that's kind of been my gig there. And I've only been there a week or two, I think a week and a half. So I can't really say too much as far as how it's really going. Ask me again in 3 months and we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know the feeling.
But it is cool to at least, get to see Bobby almost every day and see cool cards that I've never seen. Like, I've never seen that Yu-Gi-Mon with the red eyes, clay dragon and all that stuff. Like they're just so far ahead of all that shit. The Chaos Magician. I'm like, I thought there was just a Dark Magician. Now there's a Chaos Magician. And then Yu-Gi-Oh is completely out of my realm. So I don't even know, or Magic is out of my realm. I don't even know what the fuck is going on there. But it's just, that is a massive fucking card game, man.
Oh yeah, Magic's huge.
Thousands of boxes back there of Magic singles. And they are probably the best clientele between them, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon. Magic users, man. They buy up all the singles and they make new decks. I see the same customers almost every day buying more singles, trading some in, and that's how the company makes its money on singles.
That's pretty cool.
I can imagine that during the pandemic though, like during the shutdown where no one was playing and no new card games were releasing, like that kills the business right there.
Yeah, I'd bet. Yeah, that's a crazy thing to think about, honestly, like working in a card shop and just nobody coming in.
And that's what I was thinking of when I was working, because Bobby was like, yeah, normally we have more staff members than this, but we're still getting back to, slowly building up our staff and all the customers and our events. So that kind of got me thinking, like, we don't get a lot of families coming in here. And when they do, they just kind of browse, or sometimes you can get them to buy a single or two on the computer, but it's all gamers. Like that is the core business for sure. So when that gets pulled out from under you, it's like, what else do you have really? Because you don't have the families coming in buying Funko Pops, or like in the
Right.
comic shop where at least I can sell a family a trade paperback or a comic book, a little toy, a sticker, whatever. Here it's like mainly singles, and kind of scary in a little way, because if another shutdown were to happen, I'd be like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, it's one of those where you're just kind of like just there, and then all of a sudden you're not. That's super weird though, that they just do singles like that. I had no idea that it was run that way.
Yeah, and yeah, they do have like a small section of board games and all of that, but it's not set up as like a regular retail game shop, if that makes any sense, where you could do an impulse buy based on what you see. Like, yeah, you do have some booster packs and whatnot in the back, but their core business 100% is people in their 20s and 30s buying singles. And there's a lot of them. There's a shit ton of those people. And they spend money.
But man, that's kind of crazy that you got a whole store like that. I'd imagine that there's a lot of like online sales too, right?
Yeah, they do. They ship internationally. They do free shipping as well if you buy X amount of cards. So I don't know what their numbers are in online, but you're right. I would assume at worst they could maybe, I'd have to ask Bobby next time I see him how they were staying afloat during the shutdown when they only could survive off of online orders. Yeah, they do have that online portion.
That's crazy. I wonder how much it's changed. Like, I wonder what things were there before, you know what I mean? Before the shutdown.
Yeah, that's true too. I know their events are just a weekend, and they used to have D&D. They used to have some, I think, extra Magic events as well during the week, X-Wing maybe, but now it's just Yu-Gi-Oh!, just Pokemon, and Magic, of course.
Yeah. Huh. That's really cool, though. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, thank you. I'll keep putting up pictures of Bobby and putting them up. It is cool to see him in dad mode, though. Like, you'll know what this means because you've been a manager and you're a manager, but where you have to parent the other workers a little bit.
Yes,
like,
I do.
we have to say no to them. Like, no, you already did this. No, I'm not going to let you do that. Like, it's like, all right.
You're like, fine.
And it's like, I've never seen Bobby mad like that.
Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of crazy.
And all the other, like, everyone gets real quiet. Like, all the workers are a little like, oh no, like, dad's mad, type of thing. And I'm sitting here like, this is great. I've never seen this.
Oh man, that part's got to be kind of entertaining though.
It is.
I'm not gonna lie. That part's got to be pretty good.
Or if he gets a little strict with customers, I've seen that a little bit, and I'm like, this is all a whole new world with me here.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. God, I can't even think of Bobby that way.
No, like even if he were to legit get mad at me and yell, I'd be like, are you trolling me? Like, is this real? Like, I really can't imagine it either. Like, it's still kind of weird.
Yeah, that's super weird. And he's your boss now.
Yeah, he is. He is my boss.
That is odd. But like, and then again, like, you're kind of all of our boss. So it's kind of like one of those, like, he gets mad at you at the store, and then you get mad at him on the podcast. They work.
It is one of those things too, though, where I think, I'm not speaking for him, but if I had to guess, since I've worked in retail, I've managed people, he kind of gives me a little bit of the benefit of the doubt of like, all right, he sort of knows what he's doing in a way.
Yeah.
All right, let's get shit done and dick around or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Or let's do that after we help all the people.
Right. And that's, I'm finding my groove. Everyone's real nice. There's some super nerds. Absolutely. There's a lot of that. And that's entertaining too. Yeah.
There's always those.
I find it funny. There. Yeah.
I mean, they're just, there.
Like, I don't know if I'm making fun of them, but I'm like, look at that long ass ponytail on that guy. Like, that's how old I am. Like, I'm like, look at that guy with the long ass ponytail.
Oh God. I'm gonna have to come in there one day. Next time I'm up by Maitland.
Yeah, you do, just to look around and take a look at everyone. And that includes the coworkers too. I'm like, everyone's super nerdy here.
Oh yeah, no, that's probably what I'm going to do most of the time, honestly. When I go there is just look at the coworkers, be like, oh, interesting.
Yeah. You're looking them up and down and they're like, can I help you? No, I'm just looking.
No, I'm fine.
I'm observing.
I'm good. You just do your thing.
Pretend I'm not here.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's all I have on my end for the Bro Kept block. Oh, free comic book day, real quick. I'm sad. This is my first missed free comic book day in years, almost a decade.
Oh, wow.
normally I'd be working mandatory. Everyone has to work on Free Comic Book Day. And they asked me, they're like, hey, are you going to make an appearance? My old coworkers. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try to make it. But I ended up working open to close on Free Comic Book Day. I believe it was still closed. If not, by the time I would have made it to the shop, like they would have been close to closing. So I'm like, damn, I missed it completely. That was a little disappointing, but Kelly, I was able to tell her, I'm like, hey, if you have a moment, can you please take Leo? I had told him that about Free Comic Book Day, and maybe he won't remember, but he probably will because he doesn't forget a fucking thing. I tell him he's a smart little guy. Yeah.
No, I've got one just like that. Jeez.
They don't fucking forget.
No, they never do. It's so weird.
And sometimes I'll just say a dinosaur, like, oh, and then the this dinosaur did this. And he's like, no, that's the Cartophosaurus. I'm like, oh, whatever, dude. Like, I misspoke. Jesus.
My bad. Okay.
So she took him to the comic shop and sent me pictures, and he picked out 5 free comics. He got a Pokemon, Sonic the Hedgehog. There was the DC Super Pets and 2 other comics. So he was over the moon of like, I can get 5 because normally it's 1 or 2 that when I've been taking them.
Oh, right. And
I just taught him the concept of money. Like these things cost money, and now he's going to get free things. So that's sending him mixed messages like, but these are free though. We can just walk in and get them.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, Dad. What are you doing?
Why are you making me pay?
That's like when I took my son to the mall, and he likes, the little like mall rides.
Yes.
He loves those. I don't understand why, but he loves them. So we went and we couldn't get any change. Like all the change machines were broken. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll tell you what, you've got, $10. I'm like, I was going to let you, spend $10 on rides. How about I let you spend $10 like at stores? And he goes and he's looking and, all through that thing. And he's like, all right, well, there's this one. And I'm like, all right, well, this one costs that much. So you would have how much left? And, do the math and all that because we're homeschooling too. So I'm like, turn it into a little school project.
Mm-hmm.
And he did really well. He ended up coming home with like $6. So I'm like,
nice.
I don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but like, good job, bud.
Have they done the thing that I've seen a million times at the shops of blowing his whole allowance completely in one trip because money seems to burn a hole in their pocket?
Oh yes, no, we've done that.
Okay.
We've definitely done that. But like he's learning, he's getting the hang of it.
Has he conveniently forgotten his wallet?
He is not.
That's where parents fuck up. I used to see it all the time where they're like, you forgot your wallet, didn't you? Yeah, sorry. Right at checkout. And the parents like, well, I'm already checking out, and they just pay for the thing. And it's like, okay, you're now enabling them to forget
exactly.
every time.
No.
I think I only had it once where the parents like, well, sorry, bud, you forgot your wallet. Time to go.
Yep. Sucks to be you, bud. No, that's definitely the answer.
Yes.
Though. I mean, the first time he did it, he was like 3.
Gotcha.
So
damn, you had him buy your shit at 3. Good for you.
Well, you start him early and
like I just started that. He's about to turn 5 but this fall he'll be 5 but now I've gotten him into like, all right, clean your room. Here's $1 or whatever, 50 cents. Yeah. And he's saved up all his little dollars, and eventually he's going to have enough saved up because these fucking toys now, the Jurassic World ones, at minimum, they're $20.
Oh yeah, easily. It's ridiculous, man.
So I'm like, okay, he has $9 saved up now. So I'm like, okay, another 2 months, you might have enough to make your first purchase.
Yeah, right.
But when that happens, maybe he'll be like, man, all that time I spent cleaning my room, and for one toy, like maybe that it'll register like, okay, money, value, time, all of that. So
yeah, I mean, it's a possibility, but also there's always the chance that he's just like, all right, boom. And then that toy's there and you're like, all right, well, maybe later.
Could be. But Jarrod, I want to thank you again for coming on. I know previous to us recording, we were like, I didn't know if you were going to be able to be on. So I'm glad you were able to find the message and jump on. And I know it was a little last minute for you. So thanks for making the effort and being on.
Yeah, absolutely, Daniel. It's always a pleasure.
And to you on the other side, if you want to, we talked a lot about Discord today. If you want to check in on our Discord, join it so you don't miss out on some of these conversations, because there's a ton that go on even that are not mentioned on the show. Be sure to join our Discord lounge. There's a link in the description of today's episode. If you head on over to thereasonsibroke.com as well and scroll all the way to the bottom, there is a Discord link there too. It's free to do, but if you are a Patreon backer, you get access to the exclusive Patreon board. So there's more messages and conversations that go on there. And if you're already a backer, you might as well get access to that and have some fun with us. And like Bobby always says, you can turn off your notifications or snooze them, mute them, whatever it is. But it is a cool thing to have. If you're a collector, Bobby gave us the idea of the collector's corner. So if you get CGC books or tree frog grading stuff, share it on there and kind of make us all jealous. Like, show off your cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank you again for tuning in for episode number 508. I've been Daniel, joined by Jarrod, and Brocat Core. All will be well. Since we are talking about toys, do you remember the first toy that you bought with your own money? Or at least when you kind of understood the value a little bit of, okay, that's how much that costs?
Okay, no, then it was probably like when I was a kid though, like action figures were like $5.
Yes.
And I'm like looking at them now and I'm just like, oh God, this would be an expensive hobby now. But it was a red, like volcano themed Batman.
Cool. The animated series or the
Yes,
Keaton?
no, it was definitely an animated series. But yeah, no, it was just really cool. And it was very smooth and red, and it had like some yellow streaks in it. I think the Batman logo was yellow.
Do you remember they always did those? Like, here's the ice Batman, and it was like this cool blue and black one, and they never showed up in the show?
Ever. Never did. I watched it 3 times looking for the volcano Batman, but never found it.
I really like I don't know if you remember, there was a black and neon green one, and I don't know what the theme was.
Oh, yeah.
That was my favorite one as a kid. That shit was amazing. And that was one that I always wish would have come out in the show too. But again, never did. They did one for Robin. They did all these different alternates, which is brilliant, right? Just the same fucking mold, repaint the shit, add an accessory to it.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a complete joke. It doesn't matter at all. But like they did it 100 times.
And I don't know if they do that anymore, honestly, because they don't have like here's the red T-Rex or anything that I've noticed.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird. I think I found it online. It's on eBay.
What do they call it?
Kenner TM 1995 green Batman vintage Batman action figure is all it is.
Bullshit. Fuck that eBayer. They need to put the real thing. The real
I know,
name.
right? I need the character name. Yeah, no, it's just so weird that they don't really do that anymore.
They even did it with the Turtles, where they're like, here's the set of musician Turtles, and that never happened in the cartoon.
Yeah, no, they were never musicians. They were never like any of the jobs that they had.
I used to think that the Donatello with the mohawk was the coolest fucking thing. I'm like, fucking mohawks.
I remember that.
As a kid, I don't know why I thought mohawks were really fucking cool.
Yeah, no, they were though. I don't know why. They just were.